Mr. Rajapaksa is a very, very exceptional human being. I'm so pleased to have met him, and he in fact changed some of the things that the way I looked at life. Are you asking me the question whether I agree with you all what they have done? No. Some of the things, yes. I am not a conventional businessman. I don't want to be. Money has never given me happiness, and it will never give me happiness. And I am politically sensitive, and I believe people like us should not just limit ourselves to just running our own businesses. I'm not criticizing the government when they are not in power. That's not my style. In this government context, politically, since my ideology has a lot to do with nationalism, patriotism, there are question marks.
We welcome Mr. Dilith Jayaweera, the Joint Managing Director of Triad, one of Sri Lanka's largest and most prominent advertising companies. Apart from that, you're a businessman, an attorney at law, and a graduate from a local university, but who's mired in the center of controversy for the past decade, I believe. Mr. Jayaweera, to start off with, do you miss the Rajapakshas, or how badly do you miss the Rajapakshas?
Yeah, in a different context. I mean, it's not the same context as the most of the people. You know, I'm a ardent, firm nationalist. You know, I come from a village. I went to school in Gaul, St. Rocious, but I grew up in a village, and my mother was a school teacher, and my father was also a government servant. So my background is a bit different to some of these people in Colombo. My father is quite a socialist. So I grew up in a very socialist background. I'm a politically sensitive person due to probably the background that I come from. So initially, till about I completed my O-levels, I believed in this socialism, and I thought that was a solution towards equitable wealth and stuff like that. Then, when I was studying Buddhism as a subject, and parallel to that I was studying Sinhala literature, and part of it of course in English literature, I saw there is a major gap between this Buddhism and Marxism. You know, where Marxism is talking about once somebody is materially content, that Marx's expectation was one is going to be very happy. But in Buddhism it says that as a human being, with all your material things, for you to be happy, you have to achieve contentment. You know, happiness is within. It's not the material things. So I was terribly influenced with Buddhism at that point. So when I was sort of then studying this nationalism as an ideology, then I saw one has to be patriotic. You have to love your country, and that is something that one owes to a country where you are born. So I see Mahinda Rajapaksa from that point of view. My beliefs were different. I continue to believe, and the war can only be sorted by war. You have to finish this war. This is terrorism, and one has to eliminate terrorism. So I saw Mahinda Rajapaksa those days with Janagosha, Janapaura. I saw a leader in this whole equation.
But isn't there a fundamental flaw in what you're saying? Because Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa was always a federalist. If you look at his history, until the advent of 2005.
Correct. So there are many articles being published on this, and you're right. Whether he was a federalist or not is a different matter. But he also have got close to some people who believed in that kind of context. But for somebody like me, when you see it in a philosophical perspective, I saw Mahinda Rajapaksa being a suitable person for the purpose.
So then, coming to 2004, if you can explain how you got involved with the campaign, or how did...
Prior to that, we had a policy at Triad not to get involved in political advertising. In fact, I can tell you, prior to that, many people like even Professor D.L. Farisz was my teacher. who approached me, and we declined that because we didn't want to get involved in political work, because our triad philosophy was very different. Triad philosophy was to build local brands, and we went with the motto saying the Sri Lanka can, and we exclusively promoted only local brands. But in I think it was 2004 when Chandrika dissolved the parliament. There we were approached by Madam Chandrika Bandaranaike when we, in fact I didn't know her before. I went with this Raj TV people to get the license, the TV license that we carry now as their that was the first meeting I had with her. So she got to know us, and at that presentation we showed that Triad as like a large advertising company. So she approached us through Dr. Tara Dime, and it sounded like a challenge to me. So I liked that challenge, but then I had a chat with my partner Varuni, and she also said, I mean, all this while we haven't done it, why do you want to do it now? Then we had another partner, Rohan Rajaratnam. He also said the same thing. Then one day when I was told that they don't believe that we can do this, I mean the other people who were around her at that time had told, I mean, how can Triad handle a campaign of this size and stature, because they were in touch with the international agency called Saatchi and Saatchi, and how can Triad handle it? So I got it was like a professional challenge. So I again started talking to Varuni and trying to convince her, why don't we give it a try? And I'm sure we can sort of show, I mean, this is one time you can show results, not like a performance of a brand which will take a while. Why can't we show? Now that time we were like about 9 years old as an agency. So we approached her, we said, will you give us a chance for us to handle your campaign? So then I immediately sent my colleague Anup Chandrasekaran, who was running our television production company at that time, to India. He's an Indian by nature. And I told him to find out as to who did the BJP India Shining campaign. You remember the India Shining campaign was a famous campaign at that time. So he managed to locate the strategist behind that campaign. So we got him down. His name is Sushil Pandit from a company called The Hive. So he came down. So I went with Sushil Pandit to meet Madam Bandaranaike, and we made a presentation. And she was pretty impressed with the presentation, because I brought the local perspective, he brought the international perspective and the regional perspective, and she selected us over Saatchi and other organizations. So that was the first campaign we did called Rataperata, and it was a very successful campaign, and actually massive professional happiness that comes with that.
And then, so Mahinda Rajapaksa, where does Mahinda?
Yeah, then in 2005, I didn't know Mahinda Rajapaksa personally. When Mahinda Rajapaksa, we heard Mahinda Rajapaksa was going to be the next candidate, I was very happy. Finally, I thought, this is the man I thought that who is going to now take the power and going to be the president. So I was sort of trying to approach him, but I really didn't have a close contact to approach him. But strangely, this Mr. Dallas Alhaperuna, he came from the States, and he happened to give me a call, and he said, I'm so and so, I know you did this Rataperata campaign, do you like to come and see me? So then we had a meeting at Jaik Hilton one day, and then he explained the whole perspective. I said, I would love to do it for him, because then I can do it with real passion, because I really believed in this man, and it was nothing commercial about it. Then I came and spoke to my partners and my colleagues at Triad. They were not too sure as to whether we should take another such challenge and a risk. Then, however, they decided that they wanted to give this campaign to another agency called Bates. So they gave the campaign to them. We were out of it. They were running the campaign. Halfway through, just as 34 days prior to the election, again they approached me. That time, Mr. Basil Rajapaksa came. Actually, he came and saw me at my residence. Then we had a meeting. Then by that time, I had actually lost interest, and I thought it was too much of a challenge, because
34 days.
4 days was this was too short for one to even strategize. And by that time, they had already launched a campaign called Dino Mulanka. So how can you now? I didn't believe in that campaign, so I knew that there was a major strategic flaw in that campaign. I refused, but then they really pushed me. They came and met me again. Not this office, my old office. The whole team came. Then I was invited to come to Minister Mangal Samarveera's residence. All these big wigs were there. So I in fact got to a point that I couldn't say no. But I in fact told them it's a big challenge because I really need time to, I believe in scientific communication. I want to do research, find out the ground situation, dipstick studies, then proper strategy, then the complete implementation plan, 360-degree approach to this. But anyway, I said, no money needed, no fees needed, we'll do it. So actually it was not Triad who did the campaign, I used some of the resources. Example, if you look at the line was written by me, Alut Sri Lanka, the new line that I introduced, Alut Sri Lanka and the famous lotus, so I'm calling it even Chintana lotus, Chintana Nelummala, was drawn by me, and then I got one of my graphic artists to part-time come and help me to do the graphics of it. So then I in fact did most of it outside Triad, and basically there was no proper consensus at Triad level. But of course they supported me, and we did quite a lot of massive campaign, nicely strategically focused, beautiful campaign.
So what went wrong this time?
This time they didn't want us, obviously, because even previously, in 2010, we handled the campaign and we came up with this concept, Subhanagatya. But this time they didn't want us. Obviously, there were lots of other people by that time who had become closer to the government, and maybe other parties who were involved. So they really didn't see big necessity in me. I have nothing to hide, to tell you. In fact, I saw the problem in this. In fact, I volunteered to come and explain the issue.
What was the issue?
Issue of incumbency. Incumbency, when if you are an incumbent government, your strategies have to be completely different. It has to be lot more organized and scientific. In incumbency, however much you're good, after 10 years, unless you relaunch like you do with other brands, why do you think the brands are relaunched? Because the consumer is not willing to take the same thing. You need a fresh perspective of it, So one day I went to explain this to them at Minister Kelia Ramukala's residence. In fact, I was literally chased out by Minister Basil Rajapaksa. Of course, I must tell you that I didn't have a very good relationship with him, probably after the campaign or something. I mean, he sort of, I didn't believe in what he was doing. Probably he also didn't have any faith in me. So when I was trying to even explain the problem of incumbency and it has to be handled scientifically, he was also not willing to listen. So I was a bit sad about it. I just didn't see the point.
And then where do you get in touch with Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa?
Actually, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, I consider him to be one of the closest, I would say a friend now, than a client. One such professional client I met actually during Rata Peret was Madam Bandaranaik. I must tell you, it would be unfair for me to not mention her name because she was very, very professional in her approach. I think no other client has given us the freedom the way she gave us the freedom to handle that campaign. That was the success of that campaign. I remember she gave us a lunch one day prior to the election, saying that you have done such a beautiful campaign, even if you lose, still that's okay because you have done such a wonderful campaign. I want to tell that. And then Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, during the war, I didn't know him. During the election campaign also I haven't met him. You know that Triad became the #1 agency. At that time, the first time when we became the #1 agency, in the audience there was this Mr. Bandula Jayasekara, who was the editor then at CDN, Daily News editor. He had been there at the audience, so he wrote a piece in the front page. The national agency wins the national awards, the first national awards. Then Mr. Rajapaksa had seen that and had asked as to who these people are, and had asked whether Mr. Jayasekara Bandula could introduce us to him. So we went to see him. Very pleasant gentleman. I was quite impressed. But his request was very simple. He asked whether we could do some free of charge advertising to do the vacancy advertisements for the army. He said, this Abertu at the type of ads he used to carry those days, vacancies ads. He said, he has seen some beautiful ads being carried in the US newspapers when they had to recruit the people for the US Army and stuff. He said, by all means, we will definitely not charge a cent if you want to do. So, but when he gave the brief, we realized that his requirement is lot more than vacancy ads. There is a overall image change is needed. So we, on our own, did lots of research and went and met him. He readily agreed, and he said, yes, this is the problem. There is a problem. Desertion is at a very high level at that time, and I now forget the numbers. It's tremendous desertion rate, massive. So then he said, that's one problem, and then when we want to recruit people don't join us. So yes, then we said, yes, we have a solution to that. We will do a whole campaign. And he said, only thing is that he can't spend money. I said, no problem. So we came up with the idea, Api Venu Api. In fact, it came to my mind because my brother is a doctor at the Air Force. So I always felt, is my brother when he's in Palali, the feeling that I had. He has gone to Palali to protect us. If something happens to him, because he has gone there to protect us. So basically, it's nothing about him going to save him, but all of us. So that's how we came up with this concept of Api Venu Api. That's an insight, of course. The insight behind the big idea. So then we crafted that to become a nice Api Venu Api line, and then we came up with that beautiful theme song, and then converted beautiful ads of that, and carried almost 1 billion worth of the media campaign without spending a cent from the government. We approached all the media stations, they all loved and got together, helped us. So he became very close to me. Parallel to that, of course, maybe he thought that we are very patriotic, we are willing to do things, we are available. So he used to sort of ask different favors, I wouldn't call it favors, maybe different sort of support from me. So I used to readily help because of my relationship with him was so close. I can remember once he wanted me to go to see General Fonseca. When General Fonseca and Admiral Karanagada was not in talking terms and there was some issue. So I went to see General Fonseca to sort of patch up the relationship. One example. And I can remember during the war, actually Triad used to spend a lot of money in, because he just didn't want to spend money, maybe probably officially it's difficult, a massive amount of money. We used to spend all sorts of things that he wanted to support the soldiers. We used to at times go and pay private hospital bills of the soldiers who could not sort of go to a government hospital or the army hospital and get things done. I remember one such soldier in Jayawardhanpura hospital who had to get that little steel thing done, and we had to bring it down from Singapore somewhere, and we sort of that kind of support he needed from us. We readily gave him that support because he deserved that. That's how I met him.
Right. So, Mr. Jayaweera, to get to the real questions.
But I also want to tell you, Mr. Rajapaksa is a very, very exceptional human being. I'm so pleased to have met him, and he in fact changed some of the things that the way I looked at life.